Well, hello everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Real Life with Mike. Today, we're not on the ice. We're actually not even going on the ice today, but this video is going to be a little in-depth review of our overnight setup. We just recently did our overnight setup, and I had so many questions, so I thought I'd do a little bit more in-depth review. I do have kind of a build-up and walkthrough of our overnight setup, but I haven't really gone into the heavy details. So I thought this would be a great time to set up the tent in the garage in a controlled environment and be able to give you a little bit more info on that. Now, it does make it a little bit easier for me when I do it in the garage as well, because, well, I don't have to worry about fishing. This way I can stay tuned just on what you guys need to know. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to put it in the comments below, and I'll definitely see what I can do to answer any of your questions. I guarantee I don't know everything about overnight camping. We've been doing this last couple years, and even a couple years ago, the most we've ever went out was 14 weekends on the ice. That's right, in one winter, we did 14 weekends on the ice. We all came back safe, we all came back healthy, and that's the number one goal. So let's get in the garage. I'm gonna give you a little walkthrough of the Eskimo Outbreak 650XD. Well, of course, on your overnights, first thing you need is a really good tent. I decided to pick the Eskimo Outbreak 650XD. There is a whole bunch of different styles of tents and whatnot that you can look at. It really depends on what fits your needs. I like the hub style better. It's just the way I wanted it set up works a lot better. I do like the fact that the cots all kind of focus in on the center. It does seem to have quite a bit of room, so I mean, I definitely can't complain about it. I'll give you a little bit of specs on the tent itself. So like I said, Eskimo Outbreak 650XD, it is 94 fishable square feet. Length is 143 inches, width is 135, and height is 84 inches. I'm 5'5", tons and tons of room up here. Weighs about 53 pounds. It has 8 windows, 2 smaller doors, and 1 large walking door. So, I'll kind of show you a couple of things here. These are the regular doors right over here. They're just like the kind of moon-shaped doors. You see those in all the kind of tents. But the biggest thing is going to be these doors here. This full pass-through door is phenomenal. It's unbelievable to get all your gear in and out, and it just makes it that much easier. So overall, window, 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 and about 8 more of those. With all that being said, yes, lots of light, lots of exits. They do have a door here and a door here, which is awesome as well. The other thing I really like about this tent is that it is a gray interior. I do like it way better for filming. It is a lot brighter. It does make it a lot brighter. So overall, 650XD from Eskimo, absolutely love it. That's one thing I definitely would recommend. Next part of the setup is the floor. These are the 2x2 foam interlocking tiles. I believe these are the 1/2-inch ones. They're not super thick, but they definitely work. They keep the heat in. Now, one thing that we absolutely love are these pre-cut holes. So every single time we set up our tent, we have our transducer here. Transducer here. Hole for a rod, hole for a rod. Same thing all the way through. So we have enough for 4 rods to go through, and we have lots of space on each side. We need 32 of these tiles to fill the Eskimo 650XD. It is well covered and well insulated. Flooring on overnights is definitely recommended. It's going to keep the slush and water out. Overall, just keeps everything nice. Next thing you're going to need is a good, stable cot. Now, there's so many different shapes and styles and different brands, but we end up going with the Cabelas Camp Cot. It does come with this organizer here that actually velcros to the front, but we would rather have that space open and put storage underneath there as well. So I mean, that thing is very cool. It is very useful, but we just don't really use it that often, so we very rarely put it on. Now, this is 26 inches wide by 80 long. This thing is super durable. We've had this the last 3 years. Absolutely love them. We've never had an issue. So it does make a big difference on getting something a little bit more heavy duty. The only negative I'd say about these, they're pretty heavy. So it does make it a little tougher when you're doing your overnights if you have to walk out. But yeah, Cabelas Camp Cot, I definitely would recommend. I absolutely love them. And hey, they last. Next thing, that's probably the most important thing on overnights, is a good sleeping pad. These things can make or break you. We did a lot of research on these as well, and we decided to go with the MEC Reactor 6.5. Now it does not have a 6.5 R rating. It is only a 5 R for the insulation value, but honestly, this thing is an absolute game changer for your overnights. It really does keep you that much warmer. And I mean, they run around 130 bucks, but definitely worth it. It is 26 inches wide as well. Same thing, 80, so that fits perfectly with our cot. So if there's one thing I can recommend with an overnight, a good sleeping pad is worth its weight in gold. Next is going to be your sleeping bags. Now honestly, you can choose whatever you want. There's so many different styles, shapes, different R values. This one, honestly, Callie's is like a cheap one from Walmart, and she stays warm in that one. That one's awesome. This one is some Swiss one I've had. I don't know, we've had for years. I don't even know where we got it from. These aren't special like overnight winter camping bags. These are just regular sleeping bags. So whatever you have in your house, you don't have to go too crazy with them. I notice that we don't have to go too crazy with them because in this tent with the big buddy heater, it is warm in here. We're usually in t-shirts, if not a long sleeve shirt, and we're warm. One thing I do notice is this one is a dual. It does have the cloth side on the inside, and then actually on the second layer, it's just, I don't know what that's called, but just the shiny side on the inside. I prefer that style way over this, because when you're in your sweats or whatever else, if you're rolling around, you get kind of tangled up in there. So I do like this size better, this style better, and of course it fits everything perfectly. They're usually anywhere between 26 to 28 inches, so that should fit on any standard size cot. Pillows, whatever you feel comfortable with, extra hoodies, but yeah, bedding's not as nearly as important as those sleeping pads. So choose what you want, it works great. Next thing that's really nice to have, but definitely not needed, is a good table. Now it took me a little time to find this. This is a Mastercraft. Now on the top used to be like a cutting table, so it had a whole bunch of lines and angles in there. I ended up replacing that with just a piece of plywood to make it fit a little bit smaller. But this absolutely fits perfectly for what I need. It's wide enough that I can fit the cooler underneath, which also saves us some space. I usually always have my battery pack, my live scope, of course my camera up on top, and then we have some other little spots here for storage, and we can actually cook on there if need as well. So you don't need to have a table in there. You can use your cool, you can use milk crates, but I honestly find that having a good sized table for your belongings, battery packs, have something that can go underneath it, makes a really big difference in space saving. So the next really important thing to have is a good light. You don't have to go as crazy as I do. I have this because of course I do a lot of filming. Now I have a couple different styles in here. This one, those two, and this one are the Otter Pro LED style lights. And then the center one is the Clam Hub Light. There's a reason why I have a couple different light systems in here, and I'll get into that in a little bit. But all of these run off of this custom 60 amp amped outdoors power box that I made. It does have some pole connectors here, which the light's attached to, and I actually have a wire that can connect from here into my live scope if I need secondary power. It does have a USB plug and a voltage reader there as well. So this pretty much runs my whole setup. Now you're probably going to wonder what this little box is here. I'm going to set the camera up and I'm going to show you probably one of the coolest things that I think I have with my overnight tent setup. Alright, so now the coolest part about my overnight setup is I wire the Otter Pro LED lights. Of course, this all has its own dimmer. Over here, you can of course turn the power off and on pretty quickly, but it's sometimes hard to find in the middle of the night. So what I've done, that control module is actually a little cheap remote setup I got off Amazon for like 10 bucks. I modified it to fit into my Otter, the Clam Hub Lights, the center light. It's not nearly as bright as these other ones, but it definitely works. So now the cool part is, let's say middle of the night, the main light is off. I can use this remote to turn the light on and off. So that's the best thing I really like about this. This is bright enough that we can get everything situated. We can find out what's ringing. You know, even if you just need to get up to go to the bathroom, it's not going to blind you like these other ones will. But it works really well. So yeah, oops, turn this back on. Remote setup for a center light, a night light. Okay. Can't get much better than that. This attaches to the zipper of my sleeping bag, so I always know where it is. You don't lose it. And this has saved us a lot of fish, a lot of time. Well, one of the other more important things about doing it overnight on the ice is going to be keeping warm. So having a good sleeping pad, having good sleeping blankets, having good clothes and appropriate clothing for where you're going is going to make a really big difference. But you still need somewhat of a heat source. There is a whole bunch of different controversy on propane heat and stuff like that. And trust me, I've read it all. I totally understand the risks that I take when I go out ice fishing. That doesn't mean that ice fishing, although this does look glamorous, should not be taken seriously. It is super fun. I absolutely love doing this. But every time we go out, we make sure we check all of our gear. We make sure we test all of our carbon monoxide detectors, because anytime you heat with any type of propane, there's a chance for carbon monoxide. I'm not a scientist. I couldn't get into the details on how much parts per million and stuff that can cause issues. All I know is that we've been doing this for quite a while. I've actually did some testing with a big buddy myself. I put the tent exactly in my garage like this, shut all the vents, made sure everything was all closed, and I ran an entire 20-pound tank of propane through that big buddy heater. It is a catalytic style heater, so it does burn a little bit cleaner, but you can still get carbon monoxide from it. Either the pressure lowers, the gas isn't warm enough. You know, there's a whole bunch of different options that can cause issues. So this is going to be probably the most serious thing about ice camping, is you can never be too cautious. Whenever you stay in, make sure you crack all of your vents, open up some windows, have a CO detector. Like I said, I keep 2 of these in the tent. This one is a Kiddie. It does have a digital display. And like I said, I've done a lot of testing on these myself to make myself feel comfortable. I gotta admit, every time I go to sleep, I still run through the process. Test the CO detector, make sure this is working. Are my vents open? You know, we've had a couple of losses in the overnight ice fishing community, and it's hard for not just the families and friends, but it's hard for the angling community in general. So just make sure you're safe on there, look out for one another, and just be cautious, you guys. You know, I could say this all day. I could talk about this for hours and hours, but it's just one of those where if there's anything or any inkling inside that makes you cautious, don't go. Like I said, we take this very serious, and we've been doing this a little bit of time, but that doesn't mean that we're less prone to it happening. So overall, like I said, I run the big buddy heater. I did run the flex heater for a while. I did get a reading with the flex heater, so I'm not going to be using the flex heater in the ice tent. Even if I'm fishing, it's just, if it can climb that rating, even when you're fishing, you can still be prone to having that. The big buddy itself is probably one of the best ones, I think. It has a 4,000, 8,000, and 18,000 BTU range, and that one will keep this whole tent warm all night. One 20-pound tank can usually last a Friday, Saturday, Sunday. No problems with keeping this warm. We're usually in maybe a hoodie, maybe a long sleeve sweater, but overall, it's still pretty warm. So like I said, this is probably the most serious part about the camping aspect. Just don't take it for granted. Make sure you get some CO detectors. Make sure you test them and understand the risks of what you're doing when you head out. We all want to make sure you guys make it home and make it back on the ice for another day of fishing. So as for a finder, I'm using the Garmin 102 EcoMap Ultra, and that is paired on an ArcLab shuttle. These things are unbelievably great. I have done a little bit of modifications to this. You can actually find that on one of my other videos on my YouTube channel here. Of course, I have this custom mount that can go down and away. That kind of gets rid of that camera, but this is for my live scope cam. And then I do have different switches, one's for the screen, one's for the actual live scope itself, and this one is for the USB power on the other side. I really like that because then I can plug in a couple GoPros onto that as well, or I could use that power source to charge up my Sony ZV-E10. Now, I've also had a lot of questions on my live scope mount. This is a homemade mount on a camera, like a really cheap camera monopole. It does extend up to 5 feet. I've used some old puck board, some brackets, and of course a little connector there. This thing I've been using for the last couple of years. It works really well. Honestly, you can get whatever you want for your live scope or your fish finder settings. It really depends on what you want to do, but as long as it works for you, that's the best part about it. Now, I thought I'd throw this in here. These are cool little accessories that you can get from ArcLab. I'll put a link in the description below on where you can pick these up as well. But you can actually put your fishing rods here. You can put a cup here, cell phone here. This thing is sturdy. I don't know if I have anything heavy enough to go on, but unlike the other ones, that's super sturdy and that'll stay there. Now, I don't know if I'd recommend putting a cup on top of here. With that little bit of wind, who knows, it may fall over, but These little hut buddies are unbelievable. Definitely go check out Arc Lab Motorsports. Like I said, I'll put the link in the description below. These things are super cool. Well, and just like that, you are all set up for your overnight. Like I said, I love doing overnights on the ice. It's just a personal passion of mine and Callie's. We've done this so often, but I just can't explain enough how important and how serious it is to be safe out there. These things can save your life. The other thing that I forgot to mention in the heating section is don't place these detectors in these pockets or on an outside wall. It can really affect the reading as well. They don't like to work when they're cold, so put it in the center of the room, put it somewhere, you know, that's a little bit more warmer, just to make sure that's operating correctly. And before you go to bed, test it. It's just that easy. So overall, grab your favorite chairs, grab some snacks, get on the ice, go and have fun. Enjoy the outdoors and enjoy the company of others. That's the whole point of getting into the outdoors. Stay away from that technology, because nothing's better than just going out fishing. I can't really say that because I literally am surrounded by technology, but we still enjoy doing it. I'd like to thank you guys all for watching. If you guys ever want to go camping, or if you have any questions about camping, feel free to make a comment below, and I'll definitely see what I can do to answer it for you. Like I said, I'm not a professional camper. I'm not a scientist that knows everything about carbon monoxide. It's just, I've done enough. I've had enough experience with it, and I know the risks that I take every time that we do the overnights. I'm not just looking out for myself, I'm also looking out for Callie, which is more important than anything else. Other than that, enjoy the outdoors, enjoy fishing, enjoy life in general, enjoy the little things, and hopefully we'll see you on the ice soon. Thanks again for watching. Make sure you subscribe if you want any additional info or videos that are coming up. We're going to be doing a lot of these over the coming winter. Stay safe, look out for one another, and until we catch you again, keep it real.